I start with something which we actually try to avoid, especially at sales as DHL Supply Chain, and this is first talk about us. We are part of Deutsche Post DHL, German out. Made me a little bit afraid when you mentioned they're very proud to get a German company up here. We perceive ourselves as very international, by the way. So it's DHL Supply Chain I'm working for. We are in the contract logistics business. This is business, B2B business. Contract logistics, you can imagine this is from relatively basic warehousing fulfillment business up to customized transport solutions, up to completely tailored, very complex logistics outsourcing as a part of lead logistics partner. Yeah? So a very diverse business. We are present in more than 50 countries. Our numbers just got out last week, so our division alone made 13.4 billion revenue last year, so pretty sizable. But still, we are only at 6% market share, so you can imagine a very fragmented market. I think the case study I want to share with you is that we are, in our B2B business, maybe also compared to Electrolux, our customer base is pretty concentrated. Yeah? That means, can't tell you the exact number now, but it's not the same like B2C. So we work with most of the big names in any industry, yeah, and many more customers, but still you cannot compare to B2C. And it's also referring, and I like the question, like, how do you not over-survey your customers? It also refers to the contacts, yeah, we are doing business with. So a challenge we face is we can have one contact who is engaging with us in the sales stage, in the stage of implementing our business, in the running business, in the renewing business, all at the same time. Yeah? And our touch points are not digital. It's like a person selling something. Yeah? So this is why we need to see how we want to survey our contacts. Yeah? And you can imagine, because of this multiple touch points we have with the customers in different journeys, one experience can easily influence the other. Yeah? So if the operations do not go right, they don't sell us new business. So easy as this, but still we have to be close to the voice of the customer here. So let me see. That is why we really started for years now to embrace the term of customer centricity. And I mean, it's a term used very much, but we also believe and enforce this and preach it all the time, also internally. It's a mindset for everyone, every day, at all levels as DHL Supply Chain. And we believe, like in the example behind me, if everything goes right, yeah, we will be more successful and we can deliver more growth. So this is just an example where we managed to turn around a detractor to a promoter, yeah, over some quarters, because we are a strong believer, and also our CEO mentioned that in his town halls, sorry, that if we do everything right, if the operations are right, we listen to the customer and we promptly act on the feedback they provide to us, yeah, then we're really on the right way, and then nothing can stop us, so to say. So then we should grow more. Yeah? And it sounds as simple as this, but it's not, as you probably all know from your businesses. So let me share the journey with you a little bit, how we started. So listening to the voice of the customer is not new to us. So even DPDHL introduced, I think, back in the mid-2000s, I think you have to say now, a program called First Choice. And every division of Deutsche Post DHL is surveying its customer. And so did we. So you see here on the old slide, what we used to do is a customer survey, a 40-minute phone interview once a year, yeah, with our most significant customer contacts, every second year actually. Alone the collection phase, like the nomination phase of the contacts we wanted to nominate, that took more than a month. Yeah, the whole field period took 2 to 3 months. And then afterwards, the surveys, the reports got created, which took another month. So it could easily last 4 months from the first interview with one customer to going back to the customer with the company report and telling like, oh, this is what you told me could do better, yeah, if we would do it. And we're tracking a lot of actions based on that. Yeah? So in Excel list, all the actions we had to do, but we really were not sure if they made an impact. And actually what we've seen is they maybe didn't, because our satisfaction score didn't move. So we had an NPS question in, but satisfaction score is kind of what we focused on. So it didn't move over the whole year. So we said, okay, that's not sustainable. We need to change. Yeah? And this is what we call customer experience management. And this was 2015 when this was born. And thanks to CustomerGauge, I think we've been so far pretty successful. Yeah? And this is about multiple touch points throughout the year. So now we survey our customers 4 times a year. Yeah? We want to have real-time visibility and actionable insights, and the core is really the focus on immediate follow-up. Yeah? So that we do something about it, not just get the insights. And don't get me wrong, we got a lot of insights from the old surveys, like a lot of strategic insights, because these were phone interviews, and we had a lot of content, but actually we did not analyze it, and this was just sitting in PowerPoints. So what we really needed was a digital solution here. And again, this is where CustomerGauge came into play, so that we have all the information in a digital format. So the whole approach is based on what I just mentioned before, like the digital approach to link the data, and I will show you later, to other business intelligence information we use in the information. So I really like the presentation of Electrolux. I think this is, we are not yet there, and it's interesting to see how long this journey takes, and we started later, but we envision similar things, and I come to this later. Yeah? We want to do it NPS-based, yeah? And the key is really here the follow-up we do. And but it's all based on the questionnaire as such, and let me just show what our questionnaire looks like. So it's 3 simple questions, and it's mobile enabled, so this was also one of the reasons using CustomerGauge here, but the first question is simply the NPS question. Yeah? How do you recommend us? And it's not labeled, it's a pure questionnaire, a question here we use. Then we go into the drivers, so what is driving the recommendation score for our customers. So we go a little bit deeper. We have 16 drivers here, and I will talk later to it, but this is kind of where, from a more strategic point of view, we hope to get insights what we can do beyond the individual follow-up. Yeah? So I think there's obviously 2 things. The individual follow-up you have to do on each and every comment, but also as a company to understand and use verbatim analysis and so on to understand more how you can improve as a group. Lastly, we ask the satisfaction score. This is partially still the reason that we get a little bit challenged by some people. Why do you still ask it? Is it not too close? But also we are part of the bigger group, and as I mentioned before, the bigger group is still interested in it. What we see though is, since we started, and I know there's pure statistical mathematics behind it, but since we started, we increased our satisfaction score, so by at least 5 percentage points. It's a different methodology, so probably it's not really true statistically what I'm saying here, but we've seen a movement in the score, while it has been flat for 5 years before. And lastly, we ask the people to leave a comment. And we're really proud, so 50% of all our respondents leave a verbatim comment here. So our population is really engaged, yeah? And this is also something I will talk about later. And really finally, we appreciate and say thanks. Thanks for the feedback. I think very obvious. The whole process is a 4-step process, yeah? And we run this centrally in my team. Some team members are here, so thank you for all your great work. We have a 1-month nomination phase, where we ask the countries, the regions, and you've seen 50 countries. We call them coordinators. We have there at the site level with the customers to nominate our customer contacts. Yeah, we all store them in our CRM tool, I also mentioned later. And then after the 1-month nomination phase, we have a 1-month survey phase, yeah, field periods. And currently it's running, so I'm partially checking the score. I'll tell you later what it is, or at least the response rate as well. And once we got the feedback, the 2 next steps already start. So it's not really subsequent, but once we got the feedback, we report in CustomerGauge with the dashboard slide. So once you log in, you immediately want to see the feedback, so that we report the results. We have, my boss has a live screen in his office. We have many warehouses which have now live screens with the score on it, to immediately see the feedback. And then we do the follow-up. And as I mentioned several times, the follow-up is key. What we set for DHL Supply Chain is that you have a 2 working days lead time to go back to any detractor, and 7 days for a promoter or a passive. Yeah? And this is something we track. So once the survey is out, we are tracking this, and we send every end of the week of the survey field period of these 4 weeks, we send an email out to our board, actually, and country managers and so on, showing where we are. Also with this time, we call it timeline compliance. Yeah? So are we really going back in this time, which we think is really crucial. So, and let me, before I show you what we do now, go even one step more back. We are now in the 4th year, actually. And you see, like in 15, 16, I think, was when we start to develop the concept for customer experience management. So we started off with a few customers to pilot, with 1 country, Mexico, to pilot and to gain experience. Yeah, and you see here the NPS was at +10. It's always hard to compare a little bit with the numbers because the size changed. But this is when it all started. And in 2017, we actually completed the geographical rollout. And I call it geographical rollout because by then we covered all countries. That does not mean, I think this is something I also learned managing this program, it does not mean that we are done yet. So it's not rollout done, every country is on. Yeah? Now, then we actually started to think these 2 crucial questions, like, and the first one being, how can we help in making CXM more user-friendly? And that's maybe where your tickets come from. But my customers, or my team's customers actually are our people who are doing follow-up, who are the CustomerGauge users, who are somehow involved in customer experience management. These are my customers. Yeah, so we had to develop to mature the program, and we are not owning the score, but we have to mature the program so that they have ease of use and can focus on what's most important. This is improving the customer experience. So that's the one question we ask ourselves. And then the second question is, and I come back to this, that we do not own the score, but how can we continue to drive customer centricity in our company? And it's very easy, and I guess you know it from your company, that if you do a program like CXM, we call it CXM, Customer Experience Management, or if you do an NPS survey, that you are perceived as either the owner of the score or you're owning customer centricity. But I think there is no owner of customer centricity. It's, like I said, it's a mindset, and I think, as you know very well. So we went very clear, we are not owning the score. If the score goes down, it's not our fault. Yeah? If the score goes up, we are proud, but it's also not our fault or something good we did. Maybe we can support it, but not really owning it. Yeah? And but still, we are perceived as the front runners with CXM. And when people talk customer centricity at DHL Supply Chain, they talk customer experience management at the moment. Yeah? Although we make clear it's not the program itself. This is just, we are measuring the temperature. So still we think we have to, by nature, we are at least responsible to contribute to it. Yeah? And we did several things, I think, especially last year, which helped to further mature our program, and I just share the outcome with you, what we achieved last year. So, and I know you cannot really benchmark Net Promoter Score, so that's very good. I'm very comfortable to share the 20 because you cannot compare it. But we had an all-time high, and we started with +10, and we have an all-time high at the end of last quarter with 20. So, very, very proud of. So we have seen an increase, and it's basically or mainly made up from few regions who really picked up over the last 2 quarters. Yeah, so I'll share you later some of the things they have done, but this was really some of the changing factors which made us get to this 20 score of 20, because we had always some regions, some countries who, like Mexico, for example, from the beginning on were embracing the program, yeah, and some had to pick up, and pretty sizable areas had to pick up, and they did. We have a 43% response rate, and this is actually in Q4 and in the Q3 survey, which we are also very proud of. So, and currently we are at 31%, and we are only half time in the survey, and our current score is 19. So still something can happen. So it looks like it was not just a one-timer, this is 20, we are very close. And again, we are ahead of 30%. And I think this is also something where we are very engaged with the people who work on site with the customer. We are very close to our customer contacts. Yeah? I guess some people are indeed also phoning them up to take the survey, but we are very proud that we have such a engaged customer community here. And this also, as you see, the geographical rollout, yeah, we managed that, but we had still in 2018 an increase of 30% roughly, or 29% of nominations. And with the increased response rate, so we doubled our customer responses. So which is really good, and I will show you later why this is also important. Some of the reasons why we are there. So, as I mentioned before, we had from the beginning on a strong endorsement by our senior management. Yeah? So our CEO, John Gilbert, he is a big advocate of the CXM program. He mentioned it in his town hall meetings, he does videos for us, he logs in, he calls customers. Yeah? And then when this word was out that he is calling customers, that really meant something. Yeah? And it made people nervous. And people are calling customers now. Yeah? You see the nice recognition here, even by the overall group. But basically, this cascaded down. So CXM is part of every board meeting. It is part of the regular business review meetings our senior management has. So we have regional review meetings every quarter, and we have one dedicated slide on CXM, where we show the score per region, where we show the best improvements, where we show the responses, and so on. So it's really cascaded down. And I think what also helps is we started to send out alert emails out of CustomerGauge. Maybe also one of the tickets where we said, whenever you have a low score on detractor, so 0 to 3, or you have a promoter like 10, there's an email going out not only to the follow-up owner, but to the senior management, even to the board member of the respective region. So it's really emphasizing that we want to act on challenges or issues, on improvement areas, but we also want to celebrate success. So we also want to see and leverage promoters in that, yeah, to also make this visible. And I think this is something we achieved through that. Furthermore, we introduced awards, and also here we started with follow-up awards globally, but we quickly said, okay, let's put it back in the regions. Yeah, it's something. If it doesn't mean the same thing if you do such a thing globally, yeah, from a person you maybe only knew now through internal newsletters and so on. It's very different if the appreciation comes directly from the region. So we moved this into the regions actually, and every quarter after our survey, there is an award for the best follow-up, which we measure on certain criteria. But again, as the central team, we just provided the concept, the method, yeah, and left it then to the region. We have visibility on site level. This is, I think, something also very interesting. So it's now, we introduced, like what I mentioned before, first choice, which is similar to Kanban methodologies, there are continuous improvement methodologies, there are performance dialogues we are holding at our site level with our staff, and we are now more and more integrating in some areas also these scores from our customers into these discussions. Yeah? Because this is again what we, or not again, but also what we heard many times, it's about breaking down the silos. Yeah? We as a sales team run this survey, yeah? But it's mainly the operations people, the people who work with the customer who do the follow-up. Yeah? And maybe also something I haven't mentioned before, every contact we survey has one follow-up owner. There's one responsibility behind. Yeah? So, and these people are mainly in the operations. So we have to break down the silos here and work together. Yeah? We have these live screens, and we do a lot of communication. We share these awards on internal social media channels, and the team does a lot of calls with, which I think is good, yeah. A lot of calls with the users of CustomerGauge, with the so-called coordinators who run the program in the regions and share the knowledge, let them raise their issues, let them ask them what they need better. Maybe it's also a reason for some of the tickets because we get challenged internally, so what do we do different? Can we do different to make it easier for them to work? Yeah? So there's a lot of things we're doing here. But now let's come to the point, maybe why I'm standing here from sales, is also that how do we leverage NPS data for growth and retention? And Salesforce has been mentioned before, and we use Salesforce as our CRM tool, and we integrated CustomerGauge with Salesforce actually. Yeah? And that means we integrate and we have a strong linkage, yeah, to provide the data into our CRM tool. So what you see here is like, first of all, we do the nominations in Salesforce, ideally. And even if it happens offline, which still sometimes happens, is we load up all the contacts in Salesforce. In the end, all the people we surveyed are in our Salesforce system. Then we immediately, almost real time, we share the results in Salesforce itself. So, and in Salesforce, you have anyhow customer data. Yeah? And we are measuring retention, or we call it renewal rate, for many years. Yeah? We are measuring also our success ratio with customers for many years, or let's say on regional level. Maybe we moved on over the last year to look also more on the single account. Yeah? How does it look for the account? So in Salesforce itself, you have it all together. You see when you look up an account, you see our renewal rate, you see our, over the last, yeah, we can define the time horizon, but you can see that. You can see the close ratio of new business, how we call it, the success ratio, and you see the NPS score. And you can immediately go into either the contact itself in Salesforce, or you can jump off to CustomerGauge and see more details what the customer has said. So, and this also allows us to create reports immediately in Salesforce, linking all the sales data with NPS data. Yeah? And this is some information we are sharing with our, of course, with our salespeople. So when the salesperson, and like we heard this morning, and I think what Julian said is, this is actually something we really embrace as well. I mean, we working closely with like Forrester, for example, that the 60% of buyers today first inform themselves online before they want to see a salesperson, and that the salesperson needs to show a different relationship, a different behavior than before. Yeah? So they need to be more informed. And this is what we try to do here, to inform them more, so they can look up before they have a meeting with a customer, what does the customer overall think, what does a single contact think. Yeah? But furthermore, we use the same and to also do better analytics. And this is something, predictive analytics, you can say it's predictive. Yes, it is, because it looks in the future. But we developed a model, yeah, using NPS data to be more informed about our business pipeline. Yeah, business pipeline, I guess most of you know. So our funnel of business opportunities. And in earlier times, we looked at the opportunities, and there is a lot of knowledge, of course, of individual salespeople, sales managers who would know okay, this is a good opportunity, I'm going to win, this is not a good opportunity. And if you do a global review, you may look into, oh, this is a big opportunity, yeah, and this progressed very far into the stage. We got always a commitment by the customer. He was telling us, yeah, we're going to gain this opportunity. So now we applied data to the same thing, yeah. So we are using the NPS score, but also some other factors, and as you can guess, I can't tell you the whole model, but we use some other factors in combination of the NPS score to then segment our pipeline, yeah? And we use this very simple color code from green, which are most likely gained opportunities, yellow, not so likely, amber, less likely, red, not really, really likely, and blue, we don't know. Because if we don't survey, for example, we can't know. And yeah, so this is a model not set in stone. We are refining, yeah, you can do more, but we've seen that the NPS score is actually a very significant factor in it. Yeah? And the beauty of it is, also some of the other factors, these are factors we're using at the moment, you can explain. So it's very obvious and intuitive that, I mean, if a customer is not loyal to you or does not show a high loyalty, that's tougher to sell new business with the customer. Yeah? So this is what we applied. And we went one step further and also used the, it's not written there on the slide, but we introduced a new metric called net pipeline quality. And this is actually picking up the net promoter logic. And we just say, okay, we just take the difference of the opportunities, yeah, either number of the value of opportunities of more likely to gain opportunity minus the ones which are less likely to gain. So it's kind of like promoter opportunities minus detractor opportunities gives you the net pipeline quality. So this is a new KPI we introduced, which is also part of all business reviews our salespeople do from the top, yeah, from our chief development officer down to the sales leader in a single industry, in a single country. So they're all measured by this, which we calculate globally for them. And also in the Salesforce system or in our CRM tool, you see on every opportunity kind of this color code, which gives you a sign how to act on it. Yeah? So this drives better decision making. Do you need support? In a red opportunity, do you need to put different resources on one? Yeah, because we still need to gain this red opportunity, but the guy or girl working on it is not the most experienced one. Do we need to get more coaching, or do we stop working on it because we can utilize our resources better? This is for growth, but in a contract logistics business, retaining business is as important as gaining new one. And again, with linking the data, we have seen that actually, and this is also very intuitive, but that we have higher than average renewal rates with the customers we survey or the ones who respond to us than with the customers we do not survey or they do not respond to us. Yeah, and again, it's very intuitive, I guess, because if you survey them and they do not respond, probably they're even less interested in us instead of telling us what's wrong. The second thing is, like, if we, when we ask in our nomination phase 1 month, even not there to ask them, maybe because we think, and that's a hypothesis I cannot prove, but this is my hypothesis on it. If we even do not dare to say, okay, we will interview you, yeah, maybe because you're small or maybe, I don't know, then we're also not as successful. Yeah? So that shows us that we want to put, especially when it comes to contracts we have to renew in the future, and which are really key for us, yeah, we want to put them on the 6M program. To be able to measure them, to be able to get insights, to get transparency, yeah, and to be able to act. And secondly, we do the similar thing like you've seen on the slide before, also for our renewal pipeline. So we use the NPS score as kind of a warning signal, yeah, where we have again to engage more. Because for renewing business, it's a little bit different than with new business. It's kind of, actually there's not so much business we want to lose, yeah? And we are pretty good in renewing, I would say, but still you can always get better. So it's a different advice to take out of it. Yeah, it's not like, oh, I better not try it. It's like, oh, I have to push more to gain it. So, and this is why we still not yet done. We develop our program further, and I think a lot of things you've seen today through in Adam's presentations, but also in the presentation of Electrolux. So we are looking, for example, to refine the questionnaire. Yeah, you've seen this business drivers. We want to move to customer journeys. Again, we are not. It's tough for us to do the same thing probably as Electrolux. We need to see. So to have different questionnaires depending on where we are, we at the moment rather think about putting most of the significant customer journeys in the second question, let them ask like what they think, where is the problem in their journey and which journey they are. We want to use far better the verbatim section. Here in B2B business, we have the additional challenge, I would say, that we do not have as many comments. Yeah, so, but yeah, we get something out of it, but sentiment is not, yeah, we do not have sufficient comments yet, but this is something which is widely untapped. Yeah? And don't get me wrong, what we always say is like verbatim, people are telling us what's wrong. And if we act on this is already good. And we should always continue this. But what we hope, and also with the first 2 points here, we find the questionnaire and the verbatim analysis, that we get a better strategic touch on what we can really do. Because at the moment, our customers tell us you're not proactive enough. What does that mean? And how to get deeper into what do they mean really with proactiveness? Where exactly? So we want to get better into this. And then lastly, like the customer profiling, and I think this has been also mentioned, like using marketing data, like the CG Vitals. I think using marketing data we have also at our hands, using other metrics, looking more into trending information of customers. So are they trending upwards, downwards? Now we are in the 4th year, as mentioned, and we have now, I think, a good scale to start to do these things, because if you have only 1 or 2 responses per customer, it maybe doesn't tell you so much. So we want to use the data even further, yeah, to refine the models you've seen, but also to allow better customer profiling. And with this, I close, and if we have time, open up for questions.
Whoa.